Hello and welcome to the Bundesliga predictions and fantasy football show. So, as you can see today, it's myself and Rune. So, we're going to be talking you through the predictions for the week 29 results and also the fantasy football tips that Rune has. Obviously, getting towards the end of the season now, aren't we? We're kind of into the final straight, really, the last, 6 games now. So, everything up to play for. The title race is still kind of on. Well, if Bayern get that point deduction, that's for sure, but we will have to see what happens with that. Then also, of course, the Champions League places, Europa League places, and also relegation is obviously still on. So yeah, let's obviously today we are in partnership with Bulinews as well, which is obviously Rune's fantastic English language Bundesliga site. I think one of the leaders in the market as well. You can see everything from like the transfer rumors in the summer. Obviously, that coming up soon. We've also got fantasy football tips as well from Rune and some of the other guys that write for him. Yeah, so I'd very much recommend it. It's always my first place to go when I want to check anything out, team news-wise or fantasy football-wise, etc. So yeah, check that out. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to go on to Petre and Pundits predict. Obviously, without Petre this week, though. So yeah, let's get on to it. So yeah, the first game of the weekend is the Friday night game, and it's probably one of the most entertaining-looking games on paper as well. This one is between Stuttgart, obviously still in a relegation battle, and Dortmund, who on the periphery of a title challenge. But let's be honest, it's not likely that they're going to challenge really over the next 6 games. Yeah, for me, I think there's probably more pressure on Stuttgart really for this game because obviously with Augsburg winning back-to-back games, it looks as though it's going to be 3 from 4 really, doesn't it, in that bottom 4 now really. Obviously Stuttgart want to be that side that avoid the relegation playoff. So yeah, I've actually gone for a home win in this one. I don't know why, but I just fancy a Stuttgart win. I just think Dortmund were just so bad against Leipzig, really. I mean, admittedly, a very good Leipzig side just ran through them, really, didn't they? And I think, I think if Stuttgart really lay down the law to them, and attack them from the off, I think they could get goals in this game. And I just think there's a little bit more in this for Stuttgart than there is for Dortmund. So I've gone for a 3-1 home win.
Okay, then yeah, funny you say that because actually I'm backing Stuttgart as well. I wasn't predicting anyone to agree with me,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've actually gone for a 3-2 win for Stuttgart. With some of the same arguments. I think they'll be playing in front of 60,000 fans, perhaps, and actually they've been playing quite well recently. They are 4 games without a loss and. Fighting to stay in the league. And as you said, Mark, I think Dortmund have looked off for a while and they were pretty terrible against Leipzig last week. And let's face it, they're not really in that title race anymore. So, yeah, I could see Stuttgart pulling off an upset here too.
Yeah, 2 from 2. You got to put your money on Stuttgart on Friday night, that's for sure, Thank us later for that one. Okay, so moving on to the Saturday afternoon games. Yeah, we've got Greuther Fürth, who are running out of time now, and they're 10 points adrift of safety. We probably expect them to be relegated over the next 2 to 3 games, I would imagine. They host Borussia Mönchengladbach. Yeah, for me, this should be a comfortable away win, really. I know that Fürth don't lose many home games, but... Gladbach have been a lot better in recent weeks, especially away from home. Actually, they picked up a few good away wins at Bochum most recently. Yeah, for me, I just think they finally got that front line kind of firing. Thuram has been better, Player has been better, even Mbolo has been chipping in with a few goals recently. For me, I think it's a comfortable 2-0 away win in this one.
Yeah, I agree with backing Gladbach. I think they'll win 2-1. They're unbeaten in 3 games, and they're now 8 points above the relegation zone. So I think this game really represents a good possibility for them to move further away from the relegation race. In addition, they have a few players coming back. Markus Thuram and Jonas Hofmann should both be fit and available again. And yeah, although Fürth have looked more defensively sound recently, I think all things considered, it's just a matter of time before they're relegated mathematically. So I think there will be a lot more in this for Gladbach, and also they have more quality on their side.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Then moving on to the next Saturday afternoon game, it looks a bit like a mid-table battle on paper, really, doesn't it? But I think with the fact that obviously seventh place still has a chance of getting Europa Conference League, there is definitely something to play for in this game between FC Köln and Mainz. Obviously, Mainz, a lot of people have talked recently about their struggles on the road. I thought they were really good at Gladbach, actually. And I thought they should have won that game. I mean, that second half was just incredible. It was a great second half, but they couldn't get over the line. But then, a little bit disappointing, really, at Augsburg. They probably should have been able to get something out of that game, but ultimately lost. It's a third away game in a week for them, so it is going to be, it's a big ask, really. It really is a big ask, this one. And I just think, Cologne, obviously they lost the last game at Union Berlin, which I thought was a little bit disappointing, really, considering Union's form before that game. But I fancy Köln to bounce back in this one with a 1-0 home win. I don't think there'll be many goals in this one, but I do think Cologne have got a little bit more quality, especially at home, with a big crowd behind them, I would imagine, in this one too.
Yeah, I've gone for a 1-1 draw here. Mainz have been poor away from home this season, but I also think that Köln could struggle a bit without a few of the players they'll be missing. Sali Özcan will miss out, and Timo Hübers and Benno Schmid. So some pretty important players for them. So yeah, I guess I'm going to sit on the fence here and predict a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then obviously we got a Bavarian derby, between Bayern Munich and Augsburg. Buoyant at the moment, aren't they? I mean, they're just loving life at the minute, Augsburg. 2 wins in a row. Not often we see that. 2 good performances as well. They created bags of chances in both of those games. It looks as though Weinzel is finally getting his kind of style of play over to the Augsburg team. And, they look as though they should be able to extend their run into a 14th straight Bundesliga season as well, which is an amazing achievement for such a small club, really. But obviously, this is a big task. It's a Bavarian derby. And although they did beat Bayern early in the season, so they're going for a very, very famous double potentially here. And I think, a win for Augsburg or even a point really would pretty much guarantee another season in the Bundesliga for me. But obviously, Bayern, disappointing against Villarreal, weren't they? And I think Julian Nagelsmann is under a little bit of pressure at the moment, let's be honest. I mean, not from the die-hard fans. I think most of the hardcore fans are still happy with what he's done at Bayern. But I did see a few of the kind of Twitter fans, so to speak, getting a bit cheesed off with what he's done at times. In some of the big games, they've not been as good this season, really. But, obviously losing to Gladbach in the Cup, obviously only drawing against Salzburg in the first leg of the last 16 tie. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a few players rested because that second leg is huge. It's season defining for Bayern for me, that second leg against Villarreal, which will be on Tuesday night as well. So not much of a turnaround in that tie. I still think Bayern will get the job done here. I just think they've got so much depth in the side. Even if the likes of Choupo-Moting come into the team, they still should be able to get the win for me. But I think Augsburg will put up a fight, potentially could keep it level until, 50, 60 minutes or so. But I've gone for a 3-1 win in the end for Bayern.
Yeah, same here. I mean, after their underwhelming performance against Villarreal, I think Bayern, of course, they will have one eye on the return leg, but at the same time, they will be fired up to show a different face. And I think it was kind of uncharacteristic for Bayern that it looked like they just weren't there mentally against Villarreal, and I think they'll be pretty determined to like show a different mentality in this game against Augsburg. And although Augsburg have looked surprisingly good lately, playing away at Allianz Arena is obviously the most difficult game you could face in the Bundesliga. So I also think Bayern will get the job done here.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, a game which involves 2 sides closer to the bottom between Wolfsburg and Arminia Bielefeld. Yeah, I mean, this is actually a really tough one to predict because obviously a few weeks ago we were talking about things looking positive for Wolfsburg, potentially the Wind Cruiser partnership looking quite good, Schlager coming back into the side. But in reality, it's been anything but positive the last few weeks, obviously culminating in that devastating 3-0 battering against Augsburg last week when they were just dreadful, I thought, in that game, to be honest. I thought they were so poor, really. Obviously, Bielefeld have been, bottom of the form table over the last 5 games. Only 1 point picked up in those 5 games. And to be honest, they were lucky to get a point last week against Stuttgart as well. I think Ortega saved them more than a few times. They're struggling to get any kind of form together up front. Yanni Serra hasn't really done it. I mean, Florian Kruger got his first goal last week, but he's not really done the business at times. Obviously, Fabian Klos is just not really Bundesliga standard, I wouldn't say. So they just don't have the goals in the side at the minute. But I've actually, saying all that, I've actually gone for a famous away win here, actually, to bring Wolfsburg and Kofeld right into the mire, into the relegation mire. I just think that Bielefeld will show a lot of bottle in this game. It probably won't be the best game to watch, this one. But I've gone for a famous 1-0 away win for Bielefeld there.
Okay, then that would be exciting for the relegation race.
Sure.
But yeah, actually I've gone for a 0-0 draw. I mean, it would mean a lot for Wolfsburg to make a statement here after that embarrassing loss against Augsburg. But at the same time, it's also one of those games that they will be desperate not to lose. To get sucked even more into the relegation battle. And both Wolfsburg and Bielefeld are in poor form, and Bielefeld really can't afford to lose either. And as you say, Mark, they're really struggling to score goals at the moment. So I think I can imagine a game with few goals, and I don't think a 0-0 draw is unrealistic here.
Yeah, I would agree, really. Back low number of goals here. For any of you betting people out there, get a low number of goals on your card in this one, that's for sure. Okay, and then we end Saturday with a Berlin derby, which is also a very important Berlin derby. Obviously, it'll be the Felix Magath's first game in the dugout at home for Hertha. Obviously, they did win the last home game famously 3-0 against Hoffenheim. I thought they were okay against Leverkusen as well. Leverkusen deserved to win that game, but after going 2-0 down relatively early on, they did well to stay in that game. And I think a 2-1 defeat is relatively morale building, to be honest with you. It's I think under Korkut they probably lost that game 3 or 4-1, in all honesty. So a decent effort in that game. But this is a massive game. It really is, against Union Berlin. Obviously, Union have beaten them twice already this season, once in the league and once in the cup. And I think, this is a game that, both sides will want to win. Union know that a win will give them a great chance at Europa League, which would be further building on their Conference League run earlier this season. And I've actually backed them to get an away win here. I just think that, they seem to know how to play against Hertha. And I think, we know that they're famous for fight, Union. I think they'll get a 2-1 away win here.
Yeah, me too. As you said, they've already showed that they can beat Hertha, and of course Hertha are in deep trouble at the moment, and they have a lot of injuries in defense, which will not make that situation anything easier. Smolar will miss out, and also Peter picked up an injury doing training, which we'll see. Lucas Klünter is the only real option they have if they're not going to take a guy from the youth team, and it looks like they will. So it will be a young guy. I can't even remember his name actually, but who will be making his senior debut at the right back position. So they have a lot of injuries down at the back line. And meanwhile, Union got a solid win against Köln last week that they will look to build on. Taiwo Avoni scored in that game, and he's experienced a bit of a dip in form in recent months, but maybe that goal will give him some confidence. And with him playing against Hertha's second-string defense, I think Union will probably win this by a single goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And then moving on to Sunday, we've got a triple header on Sunday, and some pretty interesting looking games in there as well. We start off with Nord Rhine-Westfalen derby as well between Bochum and Bayer Leverkusen. For me, that win last week against Hoffenheim, one of Bochum's best performances of the season as well. Brilliant win, and that pretty much not quite mathematically saved them, but I really don't see them going down with 35 points from 28 games. So they can pretty much go out there and enjoy this game and try and get a win over not really a local rival, but relatively local rival, Leverkusen. But for me, this should be, obviously, this is also Bochum's first home game since the disgrace as well against Leverkusen against Gladbach that they had just before the international break too. So big chance for they'll be hoping that the fans behave in that game. For me, though, Leverkusen have just got too much quality, even without Wirtz. Obviously we saw Schick make a return off the bench against Hertha. I would imagine that he might possibly start in this one. Yeah, for me, they're just a better side, really, Leverkusen, and they need probably 2 or 3 more wins to get in the Champions League, which I would imagine they will do. And I would imagine they'll get the win here 2-1 for me.
Yeah, me too. I've backed them to win 3-1. Their way side Leverkusen, because I feel they have much more to play for. They're still in that race for European places, while Bochum are relatively safe in mid-table at the moment. And I also think Leverkusen have coped really well with the absences of Frimpong and Wirtz. I've been really impressed with the morale they've shown. So yeah, they have much more quality in their side, and basically I think they'll be more fired up to win this.
Yeah, absolutely. Then, the top half game between Frankfurt and Freiburg, I mean, obviously we've still yet to get that decision whether the game is going to be overturned, which it does seem as though there's a high chance that it is going to get overturned from what I've read. I think, maybe Bayern might get some big club bias there and get away with it. But I think if that game is overturned, then Freiburg is still well in the hunt for a Champions League place, and this is obviously a hard game going to Frankfurt, but obviously later tonight, the Frankfurt have got maybe one of the biggest games in their history, really, against Barcelona, in the quarterfinal of the Europa League. So they're going to be putting all of their effort into that. We saw that they weren't very good against Fürth. I would imagine also because they had more effort kind of leading towards the Europa League in this double header against Barcelona this week. So yeah, I've actually gone for a 1-1 draw here, but I could actually possibly see Freiburg nicking a win in this one. But I think 1-1 because Frankfurt they don't lose that many games, really, do they?
Yeah, I've actually backed Freiburg to win 1-0, based on the fact that Frankfurt play this important game against Barcelona tonight. A huge game for the club, of course, and they also have the return leg coming up next week, so that could be a distraction for them. And at the same time, they could have some tired legs. And I just don't think they have the squad depth really needed to like focus on 2 competitions at once. Glasner isn't rotating his squad a lot, and I think that says a lot about that he might not be that happy about the players on the bench. But okay, this time he could be forced to rotate, especially if they're still in the tie against Barcelona. And at the same time, Freiburg are playing an incredibly solid season and just a very hard team to play against.
Yeah, without doubt. Yeah, and then the final game of the weekend is the late Sunday kickoff between RB Leipzig and Hoffenheim. Yeah, should be an entertaining game, this one, that's for sure. Obviously, Leipzig, for me, probably the form team of the whole of the Bundesliga at the moment. I just think they've been absolutely brilliant, culminating in that brilliant demolition last week of Dortmund 4-1. I did just check the score before this one. They did draw the first leg of their Europa League. So for me, that's still like a 50-50 tie, really, I would say, because I would say Leipzig and Atalanta are quite evenly balanced teams in many ways. So yeah, obviously they might rest a few players, but I don't know at the same time because they still need to get Champions League. If they want to keep a lot of these good players, then they need to get Champions League. So I would imagine it'll be maybe a couple of tired legs might be rested, but I would imagine pretty much a full team from Leipzig in this game. Hoffenheim have just gone off the boil. 2 games that they should have won against Hertha and Bochum. They ended up losing and didn't really play well in either of those games. So for me, they face this game in a must-win situation if they want to qualify for the Champions League. But I don't think they'll be able to do that. I think Leipzig will get a relatively comfortable 3-1 home win for me here.
Yes, same here. Same prediction, same result. Hoffenheim have experienced a dip in form lately. I think losing the last 2, and also they'll be without David Raums, who I think has been the most important player this season, arguably. So, and at the same time, Leipzig just keep impressing. Of course, they'll have to cope with playing in Europe, but their squad is incredibly strong, and Tedesco has done really well in terms of rotating, and the players he has on the bench are really good too. So I would be surprised to see anything else than a home win here.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, yeah, so that brings an end to our predictions for week 29's fixtures. So yeah, without further ado, let's move on to Rune's fantasy football focus. So yeah, obviously this is the part when the way we're going to do it this week is Rune is going to give his 5 top tips for any position, basically. So yeah, this is how we're going to do it. And then obviously he's going to explain why you should bring them into the team, and we'll have a little bit of a conversation about that. So I'm actually going to bring on the bottom of the screen Rune's 5 tips for this weekend. So as you can see on the bottom of your screen, there they are. So over to you, Rune. Do you want to talk us through why you've chosen these 5 players as your top tips then?
Yeah, sure. First pick this week is Marcel Lotka from Hertha, a goalkeeper available at 1 million. And I'm suggesting him because of his low price. With Alexander Swallow out indefinitely, then Lotka will be in goal this week and probably also in the next few games. And he's currently the cheapest starting goalkeeper in the game. And although Hertha are not that solid defensively, then he will maybe still pick up points for making saves. I mean, he picked up 5 points against Leverkusen last week, despite conceding 2. So that's the thing about this game. Making saves is just really important as a goalkeeper, and with his low price, then he will free up funds for other positions too. So probably a good keeper to combine with another maybe a bit more expensive one. Second pick is Nico Gieselman. He picked up 8 points last week, and I think he's starting to look more like that consistent option as he was earlier in the season. And he will probably go head to head with Julian Eichberger, which was the Hertha guy I couldn't remember the name of earlier, 18-year-old guy from Hertha who's being tipped to make his first senior start. So maybe Gieselman could take advantage of that situation. And also he's scored a total of 170 points this season, meaning he ranks as the 8th highest scoring defender, which is quite impressive considering his low price tag. So a pretty good option for the price, I'd say. Third pick is Rami Bensebaini, who, I mean, I'm suggesting him every week or every other week because he's just one of the defenders with the highest potential in general. He's on penalties, and when he's playing as a wing back, as it looks like he will this week, he's just incredibly good to own. And of course, Gladbach face Greuther Fürth this week, so he has a really high ceiling, I'd say. Fourth pick is Giovanni Reina, who I think could be a quite good differential. Dortmund play on Friday evening, which means we will be able to see if Reina is indeed starting. I think he will, because it already looked like he would before Daniel Malen was ruled out, and now that Malen will apparently not travel, then I think he should be in the starting 11. And as we all know, Reina is a great player with the ability to be a real difference maker when he's on his game, and he can score goals and assist. So maybe a good player to put in your side and star on Friday evening. He gives that flexibility. And the last pick is Taiwo Voini, who was the joint 3rd highest scoring striker last week with 14 points. This week he'll be facing that Hertha defense with a lot of absentees. So I could see him scoring again and do well again, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more on Awoniyi. I think he's definitely a player that I'm going to be bringing into my side, because he's one of those players that kind of goes through streaks, really, isn't he? Like he'll go and bang in like 6 in 6, but then he'll go like 6 or 7 without a goal. But obviously the winner against Köln last week was a big booster for him, and going into this derby, and hopefully a big finish to the season for him. Is there any team news that you want to kind of announce of players that are missing? Like, I think obviously there's a few key players this weekend who are missing, and for me, I always find it useful to know any players that are missing, because sometimes, if you don't know about that, you can end up getting a shock when you look at your team and your star striker isn't going to be in the team, So any key players that might be missing this weekend, Rune?
Yeah, I think A player to mention is David Raum, because I think a lot of people brought him in last week, and he's out suspended, so he won't play this week. I don't know how many Jude Bellingham owners there are out there, but he was initially. I mean, Rose initially said he was doubtful, but it looks like he will be playing. He's in the squad, so he should play. So no need to sell Bellingham. Then of course, if you have some assets from FC Köln, Benno Schmitz, for instance, he could miss out. And I also think you should be a bit worried if you own too many players from Leipzig or Frankfurt, depending on who you own. But as we talked about earlier, they're playing in Europe, so it can be kind of hard to predict who will be rested and who won't. And I mean, with Leipzig, for example, if Emil Forsberg plays or Dominik Szoboszlai or then Donny Olmo plays in the attacking midfield role, is kind of hard to predict when they have these European games as well. So surely rotation is also a thing to like be concerned about. Also with Frankfurt, if you brought in Jesper Lindstrøm last week, he's also a player that could potentially be rotated out of the side. So there are things to consider in that sense too.
Yeah, definitely. I think you've got to remember that like Bundesliga teams, they kind of, I always think in the Bundesliga, they never like to play 2 games in a week. You know, you often hear like Bundesliga managers complaining about this system of 2 games in a week, you know, which obviously to any of you guys watching in England or even USA, because I know the US teams play a lot as well, you know, I think it might be a bit of a surprise, but in Germany, they do like to they don't like to keep the same players out there for 2 weeks for 2 games in a week quite often, really, you know, and seems to be that a lot of German managers feel as though like 2 games a week is too much at times. So it's definitely something worth bearing in mind. Maybe even Mainz as well, you know, because the game for Mainz is going to be their third away game in 7 days as well, because they play Saturday, don't they? So for me, you know, I mean, I'm a big fan of Sylvain Widmer. You know, I think he's a brilliant player, got a goal in midweek as well. And I think, but guys like him could potentially be rested for this game, you know, because, you know, I don't know. What do you think, Rune? Would you say it's possible as well? Or?
I agree actually with regard to Mainz in general, but I think Widmer should be pretty safe to start, because I think the alternatives are not there basically. When he hasn't played, they've really struggled, and I mean, Brosinski, he is getting too old now to really perform. So I think he should be. He would usually be a player who plays every match. But with regards to some of the other options, I think they're at risk of getting rotated out. Actually, I thought about bringing in Lee from Mainz, but he's one of the guys that I'm not sure about in terms of if he'll start or not, because he was subbed off pretty early in midweek. So maybe that's a sign that they wanted to give him a rest so that he can start this time. Or maybe it's a sign that Svensson just wasn't happy with his performance. So yeah, kind of hard to predict. But I think Widmer is a player I would recommend this week because he's just so important for them that he should start.
Yeah, absolutely. A player that's really done well for me since I stuck him in the team. You know, he's been my captain most weeks in that defense as well, and he's rarely let me down. Him and Nico Schlotterbeck are 2 players that, you know, for me, you've got to have in there, really.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Rory. Rory checking us out there as well. Up the lads, great show. Yeah, good to see you, Rory. Yeah. And also Johnny B as well, checking in, saying, great show, lads. Really enjoy these live previews. And Rune's fantasy tips are always a big help. Yeah, that's great. Great to hear. Yeah, up the forest green, as they say. Yeah, well on the way to promotion up to League One, from what I can see. So yeah, congrats for that, Forest Green. Yeah. But yeah, I think that pretty much concludes everything we want to talk about today. Yeah, so I'm just gonna if you enjoyed what you saw on the show today, then remember to check out our Twitter channel, so @OverTheBarFB and @OverTheBarExtra. Also remember to check out otbfootball.net, which is like the main centerpiece of the work we do here at Over the Bar. You can see everything football related on there, from Scottish football to World Cup previews to Spanish second division and all sorts we've got on there. And yeah, obviously remember to like, comment, to subscribe below. And also remember to comment as well, because we do like to hear what you guys think and whether you agree with me and Rune on the predictions and also, of course, on the fantasy football. And if any of you guys have any tips as well, then don't be afraid to comment. So yeah, thanks a lot for joining us again today. And we will see you again for the review for week 29 on Monday night. See you then, guys. Bye-bye.
See you.